Hey, welcome back. So today, let's talk about robot caregivers. So robot caregivers, they're becoming more and more popular now that our senior citizen population is increasingly growing. And actually, in 2018, there were more senior citizens than toddlers. Yeah, you heard that right. We have more senior citizens. So how are we taking care of them? Now, we are talking about now. So right now, there's actually a shortage of caregivers, human caregivers. They're senior housing is expensive. There's a wait list for senior housing. It's just, that's how it is right now. So engineers and others hired looking horse robots to help us aid with the taking care of the older population. So as the young person that I am and anyone else below my age, we are comfortable with technology. We all on TikTok, a lot of people are very open about sharing their life. Here on YouTube, everyone's open sharing their own personal life. Social media is part of our life, and we share our life on social media. So we are no stranger with technology, and I feel like as we age, my age and anyone between my age and under, we will be comfortable with robots if it ever comes to that time. But now, if we are talking about now with the current elders, with the current older people, they might not be comfortable with robots. They were alive when they saw the transition of living in a world where technology was not that ready available to that they have basically a small robot calculator thing on the palm of their hands that they barely know how to use. So how is a robot caregiver is going to help them? Okay. So I was looking through some studies that talk about this. So I'll be talking about one robot in particular in this video, and that is the Paro. It is a white fluffy robot seal that was made for emotional support. So in the first study, they've had Paro live in a senior citizen facility, and they observed the seniors and how they interacted with him, with Paro. So in 2013 to 2004, there was an experiment conducted at a senior facility where they've asked the participant to point to one of the 7 faces that determines the current mood. Once the participant chose a face, then they will go ahead and interact with Paro. After interacting with Paro, they will then again pick a face that they felt matched their current mood. Now, after collecting all of the data, the research team saw a significant behavior improvement from all of their participants. And there was one participant that struck out the most. So there was an 89-year-old participant. She spent her time being with Paro, but during the experiment, she had to go to the hospital. And she was there for a while, but then after returning from the hospital, she wanted to go see Paro. And when she saw Paro, she was happy and talking to him, saying how much she missed him and how all she wanted to do is just be next to him. At that moment, that participant leaned towards Paro for emotional support. So this research showed that yes, robots can be there for emotional support, and the older population, they are open to it. Alright guys, sorry about this. My dog is needy, and I'm gonna give him all the love that he wants right now, and I'm just gonna continue filming, so I hope you don't mind. Okay, so I have a second dog and he's trying to get on my lap too. But I only have room for one. Okay, he's out playing with his toy. Okay, so okay, so for this next experiment, it talks about what type of tasks the older people would like the robot to take care of, because there were some concerns from the robots saying that, from the older people saying that they do not want to completely rely on the robot, like they will like to do some things on their own. So this experiment talks about that. So 2012, Janae Beer gave a talk about this. And she said, robots can help older adults, and older adults are willing to accept robots. And we saw that from the previous experiment, and here she is reaffirming that statement. So Pierre was part of a team in Georgia Tech where the team showed subject an 8-minute long video displaying their robot's capabilities. After showing the video to the group took a survey saying like what they felt comfortable the robot doing and not doing. So that survey showed that the 28 out of the 48 home tasks the older adult felt comfortable that a robot will do rather than a human. And I'll go ahead and show like the data. So this experiment showed that yeah, robots are great, but older people are comfortable with them doing certain tasks, not everything. So this shows that we need to program the robots to be customizable. And I don't think this will be a problem because there are so many companies, research institutions, and like private companies that are releasing their own version of robot caregivers, and each one of them, like, they have different capabilities. Robot caregivers can become a bigger thing later on, but right now there are some ethical concerns behind it, behind the whole concept of robot caregivers. So let me introduce you to Shannon Fowler. Shannon Fowler is a philosophy professor at Santa Clara University, and she studies how habits influence the development of our moral characters. Now, I do want to share a quote that she shared in an article that I read while doing all of this research. So she says, "My question is, what happens to us? What happens to our moral character and our virtues in a world where we increasingly have more and more opportunities to transfer our responsibilities for caring for others to robots, and where the quality of those robots increasingly encourage us to feel more comfortable with doing this, to feel less guilty about it, to feel, in fact, maybe like that's the best way that we can care for our loved ones?" So she's basically saying that we shouldn't be creating robot caregivers just to make us feel less guilty, just to make us feel like it's not our responsibility to take care of like our older population, like our own parents. If you're thinking more about like about yourself, like at least I wouldn't want to like think or have the mentality that like, okay, let me go out and try to invent a robot so that I don't have to take care of my parents later on. Like they're just not going to be part of my life anymore when they hit a certain age. Like, no, that's not my problem, that's the robot's problem. Like, no, like she's saying that we should not be having that type of mentality. She goes on and saying that instead of having that mentality, we should just have robot caregivers aid with assistance of taking care of robots, that the robots should educate us on how to take care of the older population. And I think this goes along well with Beer's research team, where the research concluded that the older population is open to have robot caregivers be part of their lives, but they don't want the robot caregivers to control all of, like, their whole life. That they want them to do certain tasks. So I think robot caregivers are a great thing. There are a lot more companies and institutions that are releasing their own version of robots and doing more research on the interaction of robot caregivers and the older population. And I do agree with Valor's quote saying that we shouldn't have the mentality that like we just give the robots to the caregivers, to the older population, and then that's the done deal. Like, no, we should still be there for our older population. They were there when we were growing up, so now it's time for us to take care of them. So I hope you liked this video. See you next time. Doing this to feel less guilty about it, to feel in fact maybe like that's the best way that we can care for our loved ones. Yes? Recording? Yes, I am. You don't want me here? No. Okay, Wada, let's go back to recording.